recognize for 5 minutes the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Kean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. As the administration considers ways to improve the efficiency of U.S. government overseas operations, we must determine the best approach for providing support services to the various agencies stationed at embassies and consulates. GAO has found that increasing participation in the International Cooperative Administrative Support Services system can lead to economies of scale and cost savings. It also noted that Congress should consider requiring agency participation in ICAS unless a valid business case can justify an exemption. Can you explain the benefits and the challenges that might require the State Department to participate in ICAS? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the question. Right, the ICAS system is something that's well known to people that serve overseas, and obviously it's a voluntary participation by not only the State Department, but also the other departments that potentially have people that are serving overseas. And it provides an administrative backbone of the services that are provided overseas at embassies. I think the big question that kind of is outstanding is, should it be voluntary by the agencies that don't participate in it or do participate in it? And I think that that's a good question. I do think that generally consolidating services, which the A Bureau does, not only for the State Department, but for a lot of other agencies, like in delivering mail to people at their posts overseas, and moving all of their home goods and their office supplies and making sure that those are done in a consolidated manner. I think ICAS participation being voluntary is tricky, but it is a way to split costs also between different agencies that participate in it. So if you do work at the Peace Corps and you've got some folks that are at the embassy in a particular country, then they also participate in paying for the postal work that's done there and not having their own Peace Corps agency pay for that independently. So obviously there's some cost savings there. I do think it's a good idea for Congress to look into it. I know that there was a GAO report, I think back in 2012, that talked about this. So this has obviously been a topic that's been around. The ICAS system actually is run primarily out of MSS, so kind of the think tank part of the State Bureau under the management family. So, but obviously the Bureau of Administration has great involvement with it, specifically in the logistics management space.
So you prefer a voluntary or a mandatory?
It is currently voluntary.
I know that.
I think the recommendation by GAO was to have it not be voluntary.
And what's your response to that?
Again, it's a percentage of number of people that participate in it for other agencies, so having other people pay into that system makes sense because it is based on the size of how you participate at the embassy. Obviously, the State Department is usually the largest member of that team, so we obviously pay the largest share, but obviously there are other organizations. Again, Peace Corps is just one. There's quite a few that have people overseas. DoD is also one that participates.
Thank you. Ambassador?
I would vote for making it mandatory simply because if we're all over there for the same team working for the same American people, the most efficient way to do it is for one agency to go ahead and provide these services that my colleague is proposing. So I think if you're going to be overseas officially for the United States government, I think you should participate in this system.
Thank you both. If U.S. agencies, including the State Department, reduce their presence overseas, it may be even more difficult to gain economy of scale in providing administrative services at the post level. What are some options to help contain administrative costs for a reduced footprint?
I think I understand the question. Are you asking if there are some places that maybe consulates no longer exist, how do you still provide economies of scale for administrative services? Is that correct? Yeah, I think regionalization, which is something that my colleague here on the panel mentioned as well, I think that's a good idea. There are examples of regionalization of lots of services. For example, in Bangkok, it's a service where there's a lot of financial processing that's handled out of the embassy there. For logistics management and shipping, the A Bureau has a pretty big presence at some ports in Europe as well. So I still think there is some regionalization that is possible. Also in the area of procurement, I know the A Bureau has an operation in Germany. I don't know that it's always the most cost effective because German labor laws are actually a little challenging and sometimes cause things to be a little more expensive. But I think there are some regional ways that you can do certain administrative aspects in regional parts of the world.
Without compromising effectiveness?
I don't think so. With technology the way that it is now, I don't tend to think so. I mean, you can have a procurement officer in Germany doing work for a country in Africa, and I don't see there being any downsides. I think also, if COVID taught us anything, that there are some things that can be done remotely and done in other places, and people can be responsive that way.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.